All right, joining me now, business and law attorney Seth Berenswag. So, Seth, listen, I have teenage children, and I got to tell you what, it is really hard to get them off their phones. I would tell you, I think it's addictive. If this law goes into effect in California and tech giants have liability up to $250,000, is this going to get them to change their ways?
Well, hopefully it will. There's no question that this law that's going into the Senate in California and will likely be on the governor's desk to be signed into law within the next month or so is the biggest legal leap forward in years in any American jurisdiction to help kids be safe in the digital world. And it really has, as you've noted, some very significant and meaningful changes. This goes in a number of different ways to come after social media companies and require a number of different business practices, changes with coding, changes with taking and dissemination of information to protect minors. This is really a gain to protect kids under the age of 18 from obvious harms. And it includes anything from keeping them safe from strangers, accessing pornography. There's no good reason why at 9 or 10 o'clock at night, a gambling site should convince little Johnny to take mom's credit card and take the over-under on the Cowboys. This is obviously a good idea, and parents like you can appreciate that this is going to have a very significant impact. And there's going to be some fights and some legal challenges to it, but I believe that at the end of the day, it will be successful. It's going to make a big impact in the world of big tech and social media.
You know, Seth, this is their business model, though. They want more kids to spend more time on their platforms. That's how they make more money. So they've intentionally done this so that there could be some potential liability. I see them as trying to get a workaround to try to actually still trap kids on their platforms as opposed to actually changing their ways. What say you?
Well, they may try to do that, but the problem is that the remedial pieces of the legislation, which will probably become law in a couple of weeks, will attack that kind of conduct. Not only will the state government in California have the legal standing to come after companies, but parents could also file class action lawsuits to protect their kids. There will be a legal challenge that will be probably coming up from the technology space, claiming that federal law preempts this because it protects some social media companies from any kind of liability based on content-based regulation. But this is not regulating content. This is regulating the procedures and the internal process to protect kids. I don't think there's going to be any judge in California or anywhere else that's going to overturn this law. Finally, it will act as a blueprint not only for states to be able to look at this, which is long overdue, but it will hopefully also unclog some helpful legislation that may go through the United States Congress here in Washington.
So, Seth, I spent 9 years in Congress, and there's not much bipartisan agreement on anything. But this is one space that a lot of people agree because parents agree on this issue. They see their own kids and the addiction to the platforms. To your point, do you see other states picking this up? Do you see some movement in the U.S. Congress to actually hold big tech companies accountable?
Sure, it's a great question. California at times has been the vanguard in enacting some laws that prompt the United States Congress to act. California enacted data privacy and protection new statutes that are now prompting the Congress here in Washington to take different actions. California and New York have been acting on these kinds of legislations. I think Congress will take a closer look at it, but even if Congress doesn't act, other states will adopt this model in California, and it will probably withstand upcoming legal challenges.
Seth, I don't usually look to California as a path forward for anything, but good for California for doing this, holding these companies accountable. Seth Berenswag, thanks for joining me.
You bet.